Flow5 has just been released, and after more than 5 years of development, we've decided to make it free for all, including all functionality like the Asset Painter. Also for this update, we've provided a major and highly anticipated change to the asset browsing, which is the integration with the Blender Asset Browser for all models operations, which means that all the actions like linking objects, simple scattering, Asset Painter and so on are now using the assets selected in the Blender Asset Browser. So from now on, you can use Flow to build your scenes not only with specific Flow libraries, but also with any assets that you can access with the Asset Browser. Sounds cool? Let's see how it works and why using Flow is taking the experience of using the Asset Browser to the next level. Adding assets is now extremely simplified, and all model operations like place on 3D cursor, scatter on active, scatter on curve, or Asset Painter are now using the assets selected in the Asset Browser. You may ask, why even bother using Flow to add assets when I can just drag and drop them from the Asset Browser? Yes, of course you can, but it has some limitations which we can overcome by using Flow. First of all, if you are loading a module or assets from specific sets with the Asset Browser, for example modules of this sofa, the materials for each object will be duplicated. So if we want to unify the materials, we need to relink them for each object one by one. With Flow and remove duplicated materials enabled, when you will be linking assets to the 3D cursor, the materials will be automatically using the main one, so materials for each module will be automatically linked and you will be able to edit the look of your set without any other operations. The other reason is the precision. I personally prefer placing my assets on the 3D cursor instead of dragging and dropping them, as I feel more control over the spot where I place it. Also, the assets are snapping to the target object's normals, which may not be the wanted result in some cases, for example when linking lamps to the ceilings. With Flow, you just place the 3D cursor on the ceiling and load the lamp asset, and it just snaps the way it should. Another reason is limitation to the asset type provided in the Asset Browser. When you are appending a collection, it will be always appended as the collection or the instance collection, and when you are appending an object, it will always be appended as an object. And with Flow, you can decide if you want to load objects or collections as editable or instances easily. That means that you can add any object type to your scene as an instance collection. That may be later very helpful to batch edit all instances at once, like chairs, grasses, trees and so on. Another change is made to the Asset Painter. This amazing tool just became OP by using the Asset Browser integration, as you may now easily and quickly switch assets when painting. Just see how easy it is to precisely paint your scene with tons of details. If you're new to this and you don't know how to use the Asset Painter, check the link in the description to find a detailed guide in the Flow documentation. The next change is that you can now add the assets without even having the Flow panel enabled. And we have two useful shortcuts to do that. The first one is Ctrl-Shift-A, and it will instantly append the selected asset to the 3D cursor, which may be extremely useful if you want to add a specific assets in many places, as you can now just place the cursor and append and so on, making this whole process even easier than when using drag and drop from the Blender Asset Browser. The other one is Ctrl-X, that will call the Flow5 menu with some most common operations like placing asset, duplicating the 3D cursor, rotate left and right by 90 degrees, and we've also added here the quick access to the Add Asset to the libraries for models and materials. To discover all Flow features if you're new to this, check the documentation, but we are also working on a detailed video tutorial covering all the functions, and we really hope to release it in the nearest future. Also feel free to discover all the asset libraries for Flow, including our Polyspace.com asset library with a lot of free assets. You can also grab Flow from there. Hit the like and subscribe button and stay up to date with Polyspace news. See you in the next video.